What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review, coming out of Long Island, New York. With me today, special guest, Sanj.
Damn, I got demoted to special guest.
I was just gonna say. He's not on the payroll anymore.
Jesus. Next thing you know, next episode, y'all gonna be having cutscenes of me from like the past, from like I died in Wakanda or something.
You're
like
gonna
that.
get the new Marvel logo.
There's gonna be like a new there's gonna be like a brown female on here. Be like, that's the new Sanj or something like that.
A cardboard cutout of Sanj in the wall right back here. With us tonight also, we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
And we also got my brother B.
I go by Cuckoo Khan by now.
Cuckoo Khan. Yes, if you guys don't know, by us talking about Cuckoo Khan right now, we are in the Wakanda Forever review. This is awesome, man. We haven't had movie reviews too often these last couple of months, so it's good to have one right now. So we are going to get into that Black Panther Wakanda Forever from Marvel today, the next chapter, the last part of phase 4 here. So we're going to get into a non-spoiler review for the people who have not got a chance to watch it, because it has only been out for a couple of days now, maybe about, I would say 5 days, 6 days right now. So we're going to get into a non-spoiler to give you guys either some hope or to get you guys excited for the movie. Sanj, talk to me, my brother. Non-spoiler, what was your thoughts about Black Panther Wakanda Forever?
Non-spoiler review. Oh my God. Just go see it. It was incredible. It was a love letter to Chadwick Boseman while advancing the story as well. And
Right.
Big up to Letitia Wright. My Guyanese massive. She is doing her thing right now. She is putting Guyana on the map right now.
Absolutely, man. In my own non-spoiler review, I got to tell you guys, I did enjoy the movie. I wish I loved it. I felt like there was just a little too long, but at the same time, every time I think it's too long, there's not really much I would have cut out except a couple scenes that we'll talk about in the spoiler review that I felt was maybe a little unnecessary to have in the movie. But I did think the way they handled everything with Chadwick Boseman's passing was beautiful. I think the way they handled this story was great. The thing is, it felt like it was missing something. And of course, we all know it is missing Chadwick Boseman's character and that lead, that for us there, because I felt like we were dealing with pretty much just the side characters getting a bigger opportunity, plus a new villain in Namor. Again, guys, I think it was a really good movie. I really think you guys should see this movie, especially if you're a Marvel fan. You got to know what's happening in the next part. Definitely think it's worth your time. You should see it in theaters, man. And it's a good movie, man. Really good movie. B-Dog, talk to me, man. What's your non-spoiler thoughts on Wakanda Forever?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good movie. Same thing. It's just, I know it's Chadwick, but there was just something really missing in the movie for me. I will say, though, that they have done a great job with the villains that they've done in this Black Panther saga. I loved Namor. I thought Namor was great, and I'm so excited to see what they do with him, because even though the movie did feel long, like it did feel long, you felt it after a certain while, and I was waiting to see where it picked up or where it went with certain things. I was a little disappointed with Riri Williams, what they did with her character. Kind of the MacGuffin in the movie for me.
Right.
But to have Namor essentially be in almost every scene was awesome, because it really built his character as a villain alongside of our heroes, and seeing how he used war strategy to kind of lead his way. And I thought that was really cool. So I would say definitely go see it. It's a great addition to the Black Panther saga. Once again, I agree with you, Hav. I thought the way they handled the passing of Chadwick Boseman in the first minute of the movie was a touching tribute. And it's something that you really felt throughout the whole movie, was that bit of grief of his passing was central to the entire plot line. And so it just had to be felt the entire movie. So great movie. Definitely go see it. I'm now excited to see what happens with Black Panther 3.
There we go, man. Al, but yourself, brother, you saw it with Sanj. What was your thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, it it was a powerful movie in the sense, like you guys have been saying, the way they handled Chadwick's passing
Mhm.
and how that translated to now the passing of Black Panther and T'Challa. Um, it did feed into some of my fears and some of the stuff that I don't like with movies. It the movie, like, and I think I told you this, the movie felt long. It was
Mhm.
good. I enjoyed myself from beginning to end, but there were quite a few times where you felt the length of the movie.
Mhm.
And it was partially because, due to you now missing the main character, they had to tell the story around, like you said, all of the side characters from the first movie.
Right.
They now all became main characters. And then they had to do an introduction of a character who, in my opinion, could have been left out. You know, she could have been, or that character could have been made into a generic character,
Right.
especially if you're going to make her the MacGuffin of the movie
Mm.
and then leave her introduction or to another movie.
Right.
You could have probably cut out half an hour from this movie and make it more, tolerable
Right.
for repeat viewing. This is almost a 3-hour movie. And normally I leave a Marvel movie and I can say, oh, wow, 3 hours? I didn't feel it. Like, oh, I didn't even realize 3 hours. But
Right.
this one,
Yeah.
if you felt the 3 hours on this one. But the performances were all great.
Oh.
I echo what everybody's been saying about Angela Bassett. Like, if there's not an award that she wins, you make one up during the broadcast because she deserves
Queen
something for this.
Ramunda.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the one scene we all saw during the trailers, seeing it and knowing that line was coming, I still felt it when she said it in the movie. So yeah, so it's definitely, I agree with everybody. It's a movie you have to see. Definitely seen it in the theater to
Yeah.
experience it there, but
It's a big movie.
just know you're in for a long movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, man. And kudos to again what Al was saying about Angela Bassett there. She killed it in the scenes that she had. And and when we get into the spoiler review, I think there's actually a couple of characters we could have cut out of this movie that really didn't really have to be in this if it was not for more like, hey, we're still in the Marvel cinematic universe. You know what I mean? Like one of those things. But again, fantastic story. Um I really think that Brian Coogler did the best that he can do with what he was given and where he left off. If you guys don't know, he pretty much wrote the whole movie already
It
when
was
Chadwick
done.
passed away. It was done. They were actually starting to work on this damn thing. You know what I mean? So it was like pre-production was being handled and all this stuff, and they had to pause and stop and rethink the whole story. And gotta tell you, man, usually with stuff like that, that movie turns into a disaster. This was not. It was actually interesting, well done, good movie. Man, can't wait to talk about it with the spoiler section now with these fellas here. So listen, you heard our thoughts. Pretty much all four of us saying you got to go see this movie. Check it out. It's a Marvel movie, and it's also, again, it's Black Panther. You get to go back to Wakanda and experience that amazing experience from that first movie. So let's get into the spoiler review now. We get to a little bit more in depth. We get to tell you a little more things that we liked and what we didn't like, and get into the story a little bit and where we're headed in the Marvel Phase 5 there. So, Al, talk to me, my brother. You got to see it first there with Sanj. What's something that stood out to you about this movie that you really, really enjoyed?
The fact that they stood true to what the story was for the
Mhm.
most part. Like I said, there is one part I felt, there's two parts, one
Mhm.
more so than the other, obviously, but there were two parts where I felt it was forced in order to incorporate it back into the rest of the MCU.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I enjoyed the fact that they stood within themselves, and especially with what they were having to deal with,
Mhm.
the significance of the loss of, T'Challa and Black Panther, their defender, and
Right.
how, as a people and as a country, do they recover from that when that was such a big factor of their identity? And then on top of that, before passing, he exposed them to the world, and now dealing with that.
Mhm.
So the fact that it focused so much on just them and what they were going through
Mhm.
on all of those levels, I like that. Because
I
at
agree.
first I was like, yeah, I think we even mentioned it during our prep, like, oh, somebody from the Avengers has to be there to represent.
Mhm.
And I still agree with that. I think at the very least, Bucky should have been there.
Mhm.
but I understand, given the context of the story they were trying to tell, why they left everybody out. And in retrospect, I appreciate that call because it would have detracted from everything else. Because then now when they're fighting Namor, it would have been, well, where's Bucky?
Right.
Or where's this person? So by
Mhm.
leaving them out from jump, it eliminates them being a factor in the rest of the story. And I was able to enjoy the rest of the story in that,
Just thinking
uh,
centrally, right in that zone.
yeah, just deal with them and what they are
Mhm.
going through as opposed to all the distractions from the side. So that was what, when I left, that was one of the things I enjoyed the most.
Sarge, how about yourself, man? What's something that stood out to you that you really enjoyed about the movie?
I think how you guys said like you felt like there was something missing. I honestly think that that was by design. That
Mhm.
to really make you feel that sense of loss and really make you feel the pain that everyone in the movie um, that was close to T'Challa, the Black Panther was going through, especially Shuri.
Mhm.
She was the focal point of that, obviously, and her sense of loss and like just that throughout the whole thing, you just kind of feel like there's that weight on you, and that how you guys said, you felt the length of the movie, you felt that sense of something's missing. I honestly think that was by design, and that stood out for me that they were
Mhm.
able to really make you feel that emotion through the storytelling.
Gotcha. B Dog, yourself, man, what's something that really stood out to you that you really liked?
Honestly, like I said before, I love the aspect of Namor. You know, the
Mhm.
whole cultural impact for him, as well as how the mythology around his being, was like a central part of the country itself, the physical
Mhm.
country that that they were from, and then his own country that he made under the water. So like I loved how all of that worked together. I thought it was a great aspect. I thought he was a great character who just really
Right.
pushed this story forward. Like even there's a lot of things that didn't make sense to me in this movie, uh, mostly around Riri Williams' character.
Mhm.
A lot of it felt forced to me based off of what Namor had to do about it, but I saw in the context of where he was going with it why he was so adamant about all of it. So
Mhm.
I genuinely I love the whole Namor aspect. I also especially like the fact that Namor really caught the whole wet vibe. My man was always wet. You know, my man came out of the water. He was wet and he spent all the movie in the water. He was wet. And then I think about Aquaman, and there was like 3 parts of the movie where he was actually wet. And he spent all the movie underwater. my man was so wet the whole movie.
Sounds my man saying he was glistening.
my man,
I was thinking that exact word. I was thinking like, oh, my man was glistening, son.
glistening, glistening on the beach, son.
my man had to let the sand out a couple times, like like
Walking around here glistening in boxer briefs the whole
the
movie.
whole movie.
Little poom poom shorts.
I will not wear pants.
Kukulkan. I got
But-
to tell you guys the best part of the movie was for me was the honesty and the real about this movie. From the beginning of the movie, it was honest with us and it's like, listen, we're not fucking around. This is what happened. This is what's going on. And also like the reality of the effects of what happened with Black Panther 1. I felt like everything had a reason, right? There's a part with Queen Ramonda and Okoye. It calls back to the first one. There's a conversation between Shuri and M'Baku. Comes back from episode 1 of Black Panther, regular Black Panther, right there. And there's just like some repercussions from that first movie that happened in this movie. And just like we would think, like if we found out there was a world power that had all this incredible metal that's indestructible and undetectable, other countries would be afraid. And that's exactly what's happening and their reaction to it. And I thought that just there was a lot of realness to this movie, a lot of things that were happening that was like, I get that. And the most realness is people handling loss and the way people handle loss in different ways. Some people mourn, some people disperse, some people just stay quiet, some people just keep working and try not to think about it. And it was just like seeing how everyone is handling their grief and their hurt was just honest and real. And it's like I did my best to keep my composure in the movie, but dude, and that was so good. I was just like, I made it through the movie, and I was like, okay, I didn't tear up. I was choking up. I felt that lump in the throat, and then the post credit scene got me.
Boom.
Post credit scene, waterworks, son. I was like, he's fucking beautiful. He's fucking beautiful, and I can't wait for him to come back. So we'll talk about the post credit scene a little bit later on, but yeah, that's what I found honesty in. So now my next question, guys, about the movie is, of course, one of the most important things about this movie, because it was the question that everyone had: how are they going to handle Chadwick Boseman or T'Challa's character in the movie's death? And there's something about the way they handled it that is like, okay. And then there's other aspects of it that you're like, that's it? You're not going to give us a little bit more? But they're stuck in a hard place with this one. So, B, talk to me, brother. What did you think about the way they handled Chadwick Boseman right from the jump of the movie?
I thought it was smart to put it from Shuri's point of view of
Mm,
there's something happening, my brother, and I have to be the one to save him. So I'm glad it
hmm
wasn't like us looking at an operating table. Like, I'm glad it was
Oh, God,
her
no.
trying to solve the issue. And, while it was a little anticlimactic for, Angela Bassett to just be behind the door and be like, he's with the ancestors now, like
hmm
it made sense, and to just tackle it right there before the start of the movie and let you know that this movie now, we are handling grief. And
hmm
this was before the Marvel logo, and so
Right.
to have this scene and set up that this is Shuri's loss, like she lost her brother, like she was the one who had to save him and she couldn't do it. And so
hmm
like you set us up from the beginning that this was going to be Shuri going down some kind of path this movie, and her trying to find her
Right.
way out of it. And so I thought it was a smart way to do it. I thought it was the best way to do it. I don't believe that the disease needed to have a name. Um, I like that it was kept secret, not necessarily from the
hmm
Marvel world, but from us. Because even like when General Ross said, he was like, "Oh, he's like they won't tell me anything." He's like, "We just know he's gone," And so it's
Right.
like it was something that was personal to them. They handled as a community, as a culture, as a
hmm
country, and they handled it themselves. And so I'm okay with the undiagnosed disease thing. I was okay with it. And then to see them
Mm.
celebrate his life when we start the movie, I thought that was perfect. A good way to send him off.
Yep. How about you, Sons? You're okay with the way that they handled the death of T'Challa in the movie? Because I guess they really tried not to relate it too much to real life, but how much can you do really with the story if you don't address it right away? What was your thoughts on the way they handled it?
Again, I'll echo some of these sentiments that I like that they went right into it,
hmm
and from Shuri's point of view, it gave us like a fresh way of taking on that situation, and then I think they did mirror it, because even throughout later in the movie, Shuri says, my brother suffered in silence, and didn't ask me for help until it was too late, until I couldn't do anything
Right.
about it in time. And that was basically what happened with Chadwick Boseman. When we all found out that Chadwick Boseman passed away, we were shocked, because we didn't know he was sick. We didn't know
Right.
what he was dealing with. So I like that they kind of transferred Chadwick Boseman's strength and his courage and his way of dealing with his illness into T'Challa, into the Black Panther. So it firmly cements him as the
hmm
Black Panther. Like, this is his character, and or that version of the character was his and his alone, and it'll never be anyone else's. And I really like how they dealt with it.
Yeah.
I was curious how they would deal with it
hmm
as well, but they give us a good story and a good jumping off point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And Al, I mean, we're talking about the the whole funeral arrangement and everything there. I mean, the casket alone with the silver Black Panther doing the Wakanda Forever symbol there,
Mhm.
very touching. And then normally Black Panther comes down from the ship. This time the ship came and picked him up to bring him up. I think just beautifully handled, just wonderful. The celebration of his life, the
Yeah.
memorial on the top, and then even, dude, in my theater, especially out, the silence through it. And then when that Marvel logo hit, like I'm getting chills right now, dude. The Marvel logo hit in purple, showing pictures
Hmm.
of Chadwick Boseman, different scenes of him smiling, acting, doing his thing. No fanfare. What
Yep.
was your thoughts, man?
No, I like the way they did that. I like the fact that they did the family mourning the loss in private with their ceremony, where and then they go and they bury the body, and then you see the procedure and the procession for the people to mourn
Hmm.
his loss, but the people just get the casket with the adornment on it and so forth. So I like the fact that they showed that the family, mourned their loss and was given their opportunity to do so in private.
Right.
And then, like you said, when they did that, and I appreciated the fact that they didn't go down the CGI and try to like have him die in battle
Right.
and have like a computer version of him, dying on screen and so forth. I'm glad they didn't go down that route.
Mm-mm.
And I like the fact that they did it, like Sanj said, in a way that basically mirrored what Chadwick was actually going through in life,
Hmm.
pushing through this illness and not sharing it with everybody.
Right.
And then everybody having to find out at the last second. And like Shuri was trying to do, she made it her responsibility to cure him. And
Hmm.
and you can see they may have been acting, but I don't think those emotions were fake. I think
No.
this was them saying T'Challa, but thinking Chadwick in their head and
Hmm.
what they felt when they found out what he had been going through in private, when they would have loved to have been there and supporting him through it. And then, like you said, when that whole switched over to the Marvel logo and showed nothing but images of him as Black Panther and not setting it to any song or music, I thought was a classy touch.
Right. Yeah. They handled it well, man. I don't think there's any way they could have handled that better.
I
Honestly.
think we have a lot of data now to show that the folks at Marvel know what they're doing.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah,
This
basically.
thing broke out how many records for November? It was ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, what was it? The highest grossing in November, the 13th highest grossing movie ever.
Yeah. And there's gonna be a lot of
Ridiculous.
repeat value too on this movie too. There's gonna be a lot of people who want to see it again for a lot of the different things there. So then let's get right into the movie, which is pretty much the beginning of the movie is Angela Bassett going to the UN because there has been an attempt to steal vibranium from the Wakandans or to kind of go on one of the Wakandan ship. They send like a
And there was
Delta
the
Force team.
outreach facility.
Oh, really? It was the outreach
It was an
facility.
outreach
Okay.
facility, yeah.
It's which
Mhm.
is crazy. And we get one of the speeches because there's two, and this one was good. But damn, the second one was good, but two. But we get this, the outreach of France coming in here, and and Sanj, I just love the way Angela Bassett played Queen Ramonda there, and just owned the scene there, my man. Just crazy. What was your thoughts on the Queen Ramonda there?
She, she was regal. She was a stateswoman in that moment, and also she was a warrior in that moment because
Mm,
she went in there and they were all ready to like go at her and tear her down and have their arguments against her and everything, and then they came in with force on her people,
right.
right? And her people drove them back, of course. And then she brings them in the evidence because she says what they did, and you see the looks of indignation on the faces of the two world leaders, the American representative and the French representative, right? Because they both know what they're doing,
Right.
right? And everyone's, not me, not me, like that attitude, right? And then she's like, oh yeah, and here they are back, and she's like, I've repaid your treachery or whatever with um with mercy here, but just so you know, next time we won't. And then she gets up and walks out, and I'm just like, that is the ultimate power move. I mean,
Yeah,
incredible,
yeah, man. And
incredible.
Bree, how about her line saying, "It's not that we don't trust the vibranium.
It is you.
We don't trust you with the vibranium."
You know, it that's the truth of the matter is like we wondered how from the end of Black Panther how this
Mhm.
whole outreach thing was going to look,
Right.
how was Wakanda going to be sharing their resources with the world, and in the start of the movie you kind of assume that they're not, like, oh,
Mhm.
maybe they decided to take it back, and like, no, they are actively trying. You're just being nefarious about it. Like, it's
Right.
like you're the ones being nefarious. Like, we're trying to
Right.
help you. You're just greedy.
Yeah, I find it very interesting, man, and cool, realistic again, because I'm assuming world powers would want to be a little bit of that access. They said, "How come you haven't shared this with us yet?" You
Hmm.
know, and I think ultimate power play again is showing France who's in control. I mean, Al, your thoughts on the UN, the whole speech, and then the way that they handled everything there.
It was great because they're trying to like slap them on their wrist saying, Wakanda, you should be sharing this technology, especially coming from France and the United States. Come on, like the United
Pompous
States.
fucks.
Yeah, come on. If the United States was the one with the power, they would be saying the same thing. They would be saying, we can't share this technology with those that we feel wouldn't be able to handle it.
Hmm.
And basically, that's what was telling them. Like, you guys have shown us you can't handle this responsibility yet.
Hmm.
Um, and to say, like Sandra was saying with that, I love that. She was like, we were gracious to react the way we did with this treachery and attack on our soil and people. However, next time we will not be so pleasant.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, and then she even like rose up her shoulders, like, "Yo." So, and it just let me know that they're and she had to tell them, we know what you're saying in private and in the halls that
Yeah.
they don't have their defender. So I thought that was a great way to show, no, we're still strong, and
Yeah.
we're.
Just because our
And
king ain't here, don't think we won't protect ourselves.
yeah, exactly. So I thought that was a great scene, and it showed the hypocrisy of some of these politicians to sit there and say, "Oh, you're doing wrong, you're doing wrong." Meanwhile, in the back end, you're hiring mercenaries to try to steal the stuff.
Right.
So I, I thought it was a great scene, done well, done realistically.
Right.
Um, and again, like you said, it's just another example of the performance that Angela Bassett put on in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just a great scene overall, which leads to our next attempt at getting your vibranium, which is there is a machine that's created that is looking for vibranium and finds it in the ocean. And this is where we get our first introduction to Namor, and I think a great kind of scene that was almost like a horror type of feel too, but also a badass entrance for the Tulakan people.
Telecom?
Um, Talokan.
Talakan? Toucan Sam's?
No, Brandon. I mean, Brandon. I mean, what did you think of the scenes there? Because I haven't read comic books in a long time, and Namor to me was just Namor. He was just the mutant with the wings on his feet that could be
Yeah.
like in the ocean. But then in this scene, we get to see the Talakan people who are coming out of the oceans. Which, first of all, the harmony that they were singing with, Brandon. Come on, give it up, Brandon. Come
you,
on,
you
Brandon.
know what's funny? When
You would have jumped off the boat too,
I was
Brandon.
like, this is some eerie stuff right here. I'm like, wow, the music for this scene is like intense. And I'm like, oh no, that's them.
Brandon got up out of his seat and started walking aimlessly towards the.
I was walking towards the screen like this.
Oh man.
But no, I thought that scene that it was creepy, and it was. Well, actually, I was talking to Al about this. I was a little upset at the scene number one because the
I was
scene
about to bring that up.
introduced Lake Bell as a character, and then Lake Bell bit it. how do you just waste Lake Bell? Like, like she's great. Like, so I
Yeah.
was a little mad at that scene, but the whole, you know, having the soldiers jump off the ship, and then when she tried to
Mhm.
escape, having the helicopter pulled back, like all of those things like demonstrated the strength of these people. And you're like, and even like in the comics, like we don't have these people. Like this is they were made
Mm.
for this movie. And so like to have them usher in these powers and all of these things in just this scene alone, you're like, damn, they don't die. They sing people to death. Like, you're like, this is crazy.
Right, absolutely. And Al, one of the things you texted me that night you saw it was the way that they showed the strength of Namor. And I think that's one of the scenes that showed it, and then there's other scenes that have come around. What was your thoughts on Namor's entrance there?
I thought it was great because it it delved into, this was the only thing, now that I think back, where they tied it back into the four, season 4 or whatever, phase 4,
Mhm.
is the horror aspect, because like you said, like they have those sailors down there, and it's dark, and you have the sound, and looking around in shock and surprise as to what's around them, and oh, they look one way, they look back, and the guy's gone, and so forth.
Mhm.
So it had that horror aspect, like some of these other movies in phase 4 have had.
Right.
um but to show that they attack as a group,
Oh
like, I
yeah.
thought that was great. You're not just dealing with one, you're dealing with them all. And then to see the power of Namor,
Mhm.
in the fact that he was able to not only that he flew, I wasn't even aware that he flew.
Mhm.
Not only to see that he can fly, but that his strength, he grabbed the
Mhm.
helicopter and just flung it.
Right.
um like, that lets you know, okay, and and that they were killing, that they were willing to kill.
Yeah.
It let you know right away what we were dealing with, and what was going to be coming after Wakanda, and you know the seriousness of what was going to be coming.
Yeah. I mean, listen, let's get right into the character of Namor because he was the new character, the villain, the anti-hero. There was no anti-hero in this one.
He was not a
He was
hero.
the
He was
villain
he
of this
was
movie.
anti-hero for sure. He was not a hero.
He was
he,
negative
he
hero.
saved no one. He saved himself.
Well, I mean, what he was looking out for Talokan. I mean,
And
he's a
that
hero to Talokan.
absolutely. So it's all in the eye of the beholder, Brandon.
Yeah.
And
But
at the end of the day, he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish.
Just like the Hercules
true.
movie, zero to hero, like, he gotta work his way up there.
Yeah, he's got some working to do for sure, brother. He killed a couple of people in this movie.
A couple, couple.
Yeah.
He murked all of Wakanda himself.
It's
Yeah.
crazy,
And he
man.
ran his spear through Shuri, not in the good way.
Jesus.
I wasn't waiting for that.
Oh my god,
Wasn't
it's
waiting for
hilarious.
that one.
No man. I mean, well, Brandon, come on, tell me now, Brandon. You said Namor was the best part of the movie. Tell me either some good scenes or something that was memorable from Namor for you.
I honestly, there was a couple scenes that really set me off. Was his first appearance, like himself, and we saw this in one of like the teasers. Was him coming out of the water and talking with Shuri and Ramunda. But just like his whole delivery from that point, he's like, "Hey," he was like, they're trying to take our resource, our material. What are we doing about that? Why did
Right.
you guys open up the world like that? He's like, we didn't get to talk about that. And they're like, who the fuck are you? And he was like, all right. He goes, listen, let's solve this problem together, right? Find her, we'll kill her. Cool. Like, so he
Cool.
was very much like, we'll take care of this. It's fine. Like he really displayed from his first issue, like, oh, like I'm a general and I got this. Like we'll handle this. And then
Mhm.
you get another side of him when he takes Shuri down to Telecon himself, and they're experiencing it, and you see what he's done for his people. He
Right.
built a world for his people. He built that city.
Yeah.
He built the sun. You know,
Mhm.
he did all of this, and you see this leader, this king. You know, kind of the duality of kingship. You know, he's
I
the
think
king
he's
to his
more of their
people.
god.
Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
really is a god. But to do that, you know, and from the whole point on in that movie, you see the duality of his rules, of his role. He was the god and the king to his people, and then he was this
Mhm.
fierce general who needed to protect them at, you know, because he knew he had to, you know, and
Right.
so he did it his way. It wasn't the right way, but it was his way, and it was the way it was going to happen. And then like the delivery of his origin was pretty cool, especially when he said the line we were all waiting for when he was like, "Pero like I'm a mutant," like you know, like "Yo
He definitely
soy
did not
el
say "pero
mutant."
like."
Here's with that line. I was waiting for that. Da, 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 da.
No, he flat out said the M word
He
finally in the
said it.
MCU. Absolutely, man. Sans, talk to me, brother. What is your favorite part of Namor? What did you like about him?
Well, I think Namor was the main character of the movie, other than the ghost of of T'Challa,
Hmm.
right? But whereas the ghost of T'Challa was like a lingering weight over the movie, Namor I think was the actual main character, and if they didn't intend it that way, Tenoch Huerta, he with his performance stole the movie.
Hmm.
Um, from everybody else, you know,
Mhm.
because he just had this presence from the moment he entered the screen that he was in charge, and it was going to go his way. No matter what, it was
Right.
going to go his way. And as much as you think you're going to fight it, it's going to happen my way.
I'll
Right.
kill you
It's
too.
I'll kill you too. But I mean, you saw that. I mean, there was so much dimension to his character where, yeah, like you thought he was menacing in one way, but then
Hmm.
when he takes Shuri um Khan, even the way he was with her, and she's like, "Oh, can I go?" He's like, "Well, the weight will crush you and everything, and the cold and everything." He's like, "But we have suits." And like you can see, like he has personality. There's humor in him. He's very much a developed person.
He's almost
Right.
human.
And you would hope that someone who's been around since the 1500s would have a sense of self, at least
Yeah.
at this point. You know,
Absolutely,
so
man.
they did really well, and I love that they brought out Mayan culture, um, and really put it at the forefront in the movie. Um, and he was just such a great shining, glistening um,
He was always wet.
beacon, and always wet. But no, and then also I think at the end, all we see a lot of villains make the mistake of not knowing when to quit, not
Right.
knowing when they've actually won. Sometimes you get beat, but you actually won. And in the end, Shuri gave him exactly what he asked for. He's like, let's have an alliance. And that is exactly what Shuri gave him. And little does she know, it's on his terms. He's
Hmm.
playing a long game. Like he's
Hmm.
been around a while, and he's
Hmm.
playing a long game. He
Hmm.
so she thinks she's won. Okay, I'll protect your secret, whatever. And he's like, they're not gonna stop coming for them. And eventually, they're all gonna come for them. And guess who she's gonna turn to?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The fish
That
people.
see that kind
The
of like
fish man.
cerebral, right? No, but that
Shrimp.
kind of cerebral, like I have the power to do whatever I want, but I'm still not going to always flex. How I win, I'm not always going to flex with win with my muscle.
Right.
I'm going to win with my mind as well, and that makes his character, I think one of the best characters we've seen so far.
Yeah. And Al, I mean, again, you texted me about Namor from when you got out the theater. What was it that impressed you so much about Namor?
The overall, the fact that they had him stay true to himself. He never strayed from my sole purpose is to defend my people.
Hmm.
Um, and he was willing to do whatever he needed to do to achieve that goal. I mean, to the point where he was very freely willing to kill, to and it didn't matter who. I
Right.
mean, and like I said, the one, the one, I was like, yo, that's cold. He just kills, I don't know how many Wakandans. He kills the queen,
Mm.
and he looks at Shuri basically like, yo, I'm gonna go home, bury your dead, mourn your losses. You're queen now. I'll be back.
I'll see you in a
I'm
week.
like,
See you in a
fuck.
week.
I'll see you in a week.
She's holding her dead mom, and you're like, yo, bury your dead.
Talk about raising up your
Bury your
shoulders.
dead, mourn them. I'll see you next week.
I'll be back. And then he
Yeah.
flies off on his
And
ankle
then
wings.
his wings.
That was my favorite part the whole time on his
I
ankles.
was, I was, I was like, yo, they've made some villains, and they, like you kind of said, like there's no coming back from that. I'm like, if they're gonna make him somewhat of a anti-hero where he's still a good guy,
Right.
how do you recover from this?
Yeah.
But I mean,
He,
even our heroes, right? That was the whole thing with the Sokovia Accords. They saved the world, but they cause a lot of this. A lot of people die while they're saving the world because of stuff that they do.
Right. Yeah. And that's the side part. That again, a different aspect, a different view on the same situation, right?
yeah.
Which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I gotta admit with you guys, man. I thought Namor was incredible. I didn't think it would work. When I saw the the little freaking wings on the feet, I was just like, what? How's he gonna make this work? Dude, when he was flying around and just zoop, 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 I was like, oh, look at the fish boy
The Giants need him.
flying. Oh, yes, the Giants do need him. Um, but I just thought that again, and I think San said it best is that for someone that's been around for so long, he should be confident of himself and know things and be smart about stuff because he's been around for so goddamn long, right? I thought it was well done. I thought his character was amazing, was cool. And even the stuff that I didn't think was going to be like cool to look at or see in theaters, I'm like, dude, they made those wings on the feet look cool. They made his powers look cool. He did come off strong as hell. I mean, he's lifting things and putting things down. Like even in the scene where he meets Queen Ramonda and Shuri for the first time on the beach, they didn't even notice that he put a whole machine behind them and left. You know what I mean? They're like, when did that get there? Like they said, oh, it must have been a bunch of people. No, it was him by himself. Like, he just did it so fast and so because he's so strong, which is absolutely insane. And I thought
And
the
he
big
did all that without his booty shorts riding up.
the entire time,
The whole time.
no crack. And again, I feel like we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, they said mutant, they
Hmm.
said the word, we're on our way. Not
Well, there
now,
was a
but soon.
line when he had mentioned the vibranium being in his, in the water as well, and they were talking about,
Mm,
oh, well, our culture was built off the knowledge that Bass brought it to our country and this and that. The meteorite only
mhm,
landed here, right? And then they said, well, where else did it land?
mm.
And then we know from the
Like the Earth is
comics.
75% water.
Yeah, it was like the water, but we also know that there's a special place in Antarctica that the X-Men go to, which also received the asteroid of vibranium called the Savage Lands.
Hmm.
Oh, I never Brandon with the comic book knowledge there. Very nice. Oh man, but listen, we mentioned Queen Ramonda passing away in here, but we have to talk about her character in this movie and the way she played it. I think Angela Bassett absolutely killed every scene she was in. It was again one of those things I talked about is the reality and the honesty of these actors' roles in this movie, and also the way that they portrayed their characters in this movie was honest and real. Every time that she was talking about T'Challa, I felt it. Every time she was talking to her daughter, or the way she missed her daughter, or was worried about her daughter Shuri, I felt it. Dude, that scene where she kicks Okoye out of the Dora Milaje was so freaking real, dude. I mean, she went in. Okoye was like, "I've given everything," and she goes, "Have I not given everything?" I was like, "Ooh!"
I like in that scene too. I like how she brought it back to when Killmonger took the throne. You all supported him, and I had to run to the Japari for protection. So don't talk to me. Don't
Right.
talk to me about what I should do and what I shouldn't do. Love.
Yeah.
I like Al was saying at the beginning, like how they tied things back to the first one and continued some of the like the lingering hurts,
Right.
or the and those some of those grudges or whatever. That's
Mhm.
real. Like you were saying too, Hob. That's real. Like just be, yeah, yo, I see you. I remember that. I remember that, and I'm gonna get
Okay.
mine.
Uh-huh.
I got a
And she had
list.
that moment.
Oh,
Right.
she
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
list.
Exactly. And she had her moment, and she got hers. That because
She
that was clearly a grudge moment. She's
Mhm.
like, it was not her. She was not thinking clearly, and she let that emotion take over in that
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah, and as we say over here, she brought the receipts, brother. She
Mm,
goes, she's like, where's your husband at right now?
facts.
That traitor.
She can see her husband whenever she wants. Basically, she low key said when she want to go fuck, she could go fuck.
Crazy, man. Queen Ramonda, man. She did her damn thing in this movie, man.
Hmm.
Al, talk to me. Queen Ramonda, man.
Yeah, no, like I said, from the UN meeting to that scene right there, like you said, that whole interaction, because I was surprised that she like, I thought she was gonna like punish her or something. Like
Mhm.
when she said, "I'm stripping you of your rank and your what," I'm like, I was shocked. Like I really
Mhm.
did not think that was what she was gonna do. But then when the woman when Okoye says, "Let me just die in battle," let me, she's breaking down. She goes, "This is all that I am. This is everything I have. Don't take this from me." And then her response is to say, like you said, bring out everything that was done. She
Yeah.
was like, "You guys, you sided with them, kicking me out. I told you not to take her. You insisted that it was going to be okay."
Right.
Like, yo, like, and I'm like, oh no, she's right in doing this. I can understand why she's stripping of her title and so
Right.
forth.
We
She
get it.
made a call. She said, I got it. And she didn't have it. Her daughter
Mhm.
got kidnapped under her watch. She decided how to do the op. This is the consequence. As
Yeah.
cold as it may be, and as emotional as you may have tried to say it was, no, I think that was an appropriate response. Like, that was your job. Take care of my daughter. Take care of
Mhm.
the princess of our land, and you didn't do
One
it.
job. Yeah, man. And speaking about that one job, we have to now talk about Shuri, who is, if not Namor being the main character, the story, again, the ghost of T'Challa being really the main character of this story, it was Shuri. Shuri really took on a lead role in this movie and also became our Black Panther in this movie. Brandon, what was your thoughts on Shuri and her development from the beginning to the end of this movie?
I was surprised at the
Hmm.
path that this movie took,
Hmm.
especially for Shuri, number one. I mean, really, mostly for Shuri. Um, to see how her grief drove her motives throughout the entire movie. Um,
Hmm.
to the point, where revenge consumed her. I was very surprised that this was the route that we went, considering the Shuri we've met throughout the last couple movies. But it's
Hmm.
easy to see how grief can affect somebody. And this is how
Right.
it affected her, where she blamed herself for everything. Like, even
Right.
past her brother's death, she blamed it on her mother's death, on her father's death, on, the initial occurrence that happened during the original Black Panther with Eric Killmonger. She blamed herself for everything. And so to
Right.
see that manifest into a scene later on when she becomes the Black Panther, I was like, oh shit, like we went there. And
Hmm.
to see that this movie didn't even resolve that fact, because we're still in a place where we don't know what kind of person Shuri's going to be. You know, we're hoping that there's a lighter resolution for her, but the movie didn't end that way for her. So I'm interested now that I'm going to say they've built an interest in me seeing how Shuri handles this role going into the next Black
Hmm.
Panther, because I honestly, I really didn't have any faith there. And then to see it develop in the end, I'm like, where are they going to go with this now?
Right, because they almost left it off like she had to be convinced
Yeah.
not to kill Namor and let the wars begin between Talokan and Wakanda. Yeah, absolutely, man. Al, how about yourself, man? Shuri as our lead character. What do you think about her performance throughout the entire movie there, or any standout moments?
Yeah, no, I thought they did a great job. I mean, they showed her from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie going through all the stages of grief. I mean, in the
Right.
beginning, it's the sorrow, the sadness. It transitions to anger and frustration, and then at the end, hope.
Mm,
So and she did a great job. I mean, I don't know her from many other performances, but
mm,
she did a great job in this movie because you feel every emotion throughout. Like you
mm-hmm,
can understand her transition to the anger and the frustration,
mm-hmm,
why she's angry at the world. And then from there, as she I guess realizes that her and Namor's people share the same, I guess, history bond or whatever that those flashbacks were supposed to show, um,
mm-hmm.
and say, no, we can work together. It would You can feel it, and I
Right,
guess that was what made me enjoy the movie more than I should have, based on the overall experience, was because I felt so much of what these actors were putting forward in the movie.
right,
Like, not their performances were great. The emotions came off so raw and real that I kept getting pulled into the scene, no matter how much I may have thought I was going to get pulled out.
right,
So, and her performance was very good. I mean, it was much better than I was expecting from her.
right.
And I'll be honest, given her level of involvement in the movies in the past, I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to carry the movie, especially once the trailer started alluding that she was going to be the new Black Panther.
Right.
I knew she was going to, then that meant take on a big major role in the course of the story, and I was like,
Hmm.
can she carry it? And I'm glad that she was able to.
Yeah.
It made the movie that much more enjoyable.
How about for you, Science Shuri being a big character in this movie and becoming the Black Panther? What's your take on it?
I think Al hit it on the nail on the head. The only thing I would say is that I don't really think that she had to carry it. If she had great support
Hmm.
through this movie, because you have we talked about Namor and how his presence in the movie, but also M'Baku, Winston Duke's performance
Yeah.
in this movie helped carry a lot of the weight of the movie as well. So I honestly felt like Shiri didn't have to carry as much weight of what was going on around her. It was her weight was focused on the weight of her grief
Hmm.
that she was carrying and trying to navigate the territory, and then these other two characters are carrying the weight of the story. You know, um, so I thought she had a lot of help there. But M'Baku, I always thought was a great character, and that hadn't gotten a lot of shine. But they found a way in this movie to really really flesh him out a little bit more. He's not just the leader of some reclusive tribe in the mountains that comes down every once in a while to
Not
threaten,
anymore.
to challenge for the throne.
Mm,
Like,
right.
he is thoughtful. He is a statesman. He
Right.
he he really shows that perhaps he should be the leader at this point
I think that's what
with
happened at
Queen.
the end, actually. I think that's
Well, we
exactly
don't
what.
know that he said he came to challenge for it, but
Right.
And she wasn't there.
and she wasn't there. So we again, it leaves it up in the air for us to guess at. For it leaves us that thing that, all right, we got to come back next time and see it. But with Queen Ramonda gone, with T'Challa gone, with Shuri not necessarily, um, she was never trained to be, the leader of the country. That was not what she was raised to do. It was always T'Challa that was raised to get into that role. And now, she wasn't even supposed to be in the role of the Black Panther for Wakanda. So she's got a lot going on,
Mm,
and a lot that she's got to carry. I think he would probably be the next logical choice. For Wakanda, especially since they have so much rebuilding to do at home.
yeah, absolutely, man. It was very good, very good. Well played by Mbaku there, and and Shuri. And then one of the last like ancillary characters there that we had is Nakia, which is the role that's played by Lupita Nyong'o. And I think her role was it was a beautiful role for what she did. And at first I had questions because I could see that Shuri was upset with Nakia, or whenever her name was brought up, she was mad. I didn't realize that she was not at the funeral. I didn't look for her, didn't miss her because I was so focused in on the casket and Queen Ramonda and Shuri. Seeing Okoye, I assumed that Nakia was at the funeral, and then this is all again after Queen Ramonda tells Okoye to get out of the Dora Milaje. She wants someone to find her daughter, and Nakia is what they call her the war dog. I think
Yeah,
they
the war
called her.
dog. They said, how are they going to reward her this time? By banishing her from the country.
M'Baku again, oh, classic. But it showed. I mean, guys, I was super impressed with Nakia's character in this. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, she played the spy role amazingly. I mean, here she is in Haiti. Here she
Mhm.
is in Mexico. Here she is wherever she is, able to speak to the people, get in and do what she needs to do, and found Shuri as fast as possible. I thought Nakia played an awesome part. And then again, we get the ending where she's in there, where we find out again, spoiler section here, is that the reason why she disappeared was she was with T'Challa's son. And that was beautiful because then at the end, it kind of like tied up the nice bow where it was just like, okay, now we can understand why she wasn't there, besides whatever she told Okoye. And it also solves like why she's so far away from Wakanda.
Mhm.
I thought Nakia's character from beginning when she came into the movie to the end. Al,
Mhm.
how about yourself? What'd you think of Nakia's character?
No, I thought it was. I thought I agreed. I thought it was a great job. It was one of those situations where at first I agreed with Shuri or whoever was upset with her, saying like, "Yo, why weren't you there?"
Hmm.
And it hit home when she was talking to Okoye, and when she was like, to the rest of the world, he was T'Challa, the Black Panther, but to me, he was everything.
Right.
And sometimes, with some people, they can face through and still show up. Some people, they can't see it. You
Hmm.
know, you go to a funeral and you don't want to see and acknowledge that the person is gone.
Hmm.
And some people can't do funerals as a result. I mean, ultimately, we find out that that was like the cover story, and it was really that she was taking care of their son.
Hmm.
But to a certain degree, I'm sure that was true,
Hmm.
because she could have still gone to the funeral and left him covered. I'm sure she's got some network of friends and so forth there that she could have left him with
Right.
and gone and paid respect at the funeral and not violated the trust that he had in her to keep the son secret. But I wonder if it was a combination of the two.
Right.
She was protecting their son, but she also it would have made it real, and I wonder if how much of that was a factor in her decision.
Yeah. And Brandon, how much you think that because when they say this, it's been 6 years. I'm assuming that's the 1 year that Chadwick passed away, but also that 5 year gap between the snap. Is that correct?
That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming this happened, after the Black Panther movie. So before Infinity
Right.
War. So I mean, I'd say with that scene, I was a little upset with it
Hmm.
because I don't know if you guys know that boy was in the movie earlier when Ramunda came to Haiti.
I told you. I remember Al when we saw it. Yep.
Yeah.
He was there in
Wait,
Haiti. She passed by him, Ramunda.
Well,
really?
yeah. Well, it
He
makes sense because remember, Shuri says did he meet his grandmother, and Nakia says, yeah, he did. He did.
So now I have to watch it again to see if she
Yeah, he
acknowledges
was
him.
there. He was in Haiti. I don't
Uh-huh.
remember if he said anything, but I remember seeing him there. I
Right.
was a little
Good memory,
upset.
Brandon.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I was a little upset when she told us his name though, because
Oh, come on.
because while it was really nice to hear that his name was T'Challa, T'Challa 2, basically.
Mhm.
Um, my upsetness is
The
that
second, you fool.
T'Challa 2
Chikala
also
too.
T'Challa also
Henry H. It was Henry VIII.
But like, what
Oh man, I
upset me
love it.
there is that given the circumstances around this phase or this saga,
Mhm.
I'm a little iffy about what they might do with T'Challa number two. Given that Kang is a time lord, time manipulator, we talk about the multiverse and all this talk about time. I just don't want him to get thrown through some kind of time thing and come out an adult. And now we have our new T'Challa as the Black Panther.
I wouldn't mind because then we can get T'Challa's stories from the comic books, Brandon.
But
And I agree with Brandon.
Oh,
because
come
they
on.
have a
The
son,
true son
his
the
son is
true
called
son of T'Challa's with
Azari.
Storm. Azari's with Storm though.
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
we've changed so many things now in the comic books and these movies
Mhm.
that like it just makes more sense to have Azari be the new Black Panther in the future. I just when they happened, they were like, "Oh, he's 6 years old because of all of this," and I'm like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Here we're gonna do the whole Kang throws him through time." Didn't this happen in, like some other movie where this kid got sent through time and came back older, and
It's
now,
called Manifest.
oh yeah.
No, no, you're thinking of Scott Lang when he was going through the. You remember when they kept setting him
Oh
back and
no, you know
forth
what
through
I'm thinking
the,
about? I'm thinking
and he
about
came back as a baby.
Angel. At the show Angel, the spinoff from Buffy, Angel had a
Uh-huh.
son. He went back in time, came back, and he was like a man. He was a killer and all this stuff. So yeah, so like that's for all you Buffy fans out there. But
Also Manifest.
Manifest, get out of here. So I'm
So good.
worried about that because as touching as that was in the moment, I sat there and I said, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
what they're gonna do. They're gonna throw him through
Yeah, I
some
hear
kind
you.
of time thing, and now we're gonna have T'Challa and the new Black Panther." And I'm like, I don't want that.
I hear you. I hear you. Played by the guy from Moonlight. Oh. Sanj, Nakia, brother, how
Played by
amazing was her
Aldrich
character?
Hodge in his triceps.
Disrespectful
He's not gonna even
triceps.
fit in the suit.
You know, Nakia had you know, she didn't have a lot of time in the movie, but the time that she had was meaningful. You know,
Very,
like
very.
at first you kind of question why she's so hesitant or
Mhm,
everything. It kind of seems a little insensitive. I mean, I can relate. I don't necessarily like funerals, but it kind of seems a
mhm.
little insensitive. But then eventually it makes sense, and then you see like there's this kind of desperation in her when she goes to rescue Shuri. There's a desperate way that she's doing it. Everything has to be like so quick, just right, and everything, because and now you understand why. It almost seemed like she was trying to distance herself from being Wakandan, but that was the farthest thing from
Mhm.
the truth. And then she again proves her worth as a warrior, and skill as a
Oh
warrior.
yeah, as
Um,
warrior spy, everything, man. She
yeah,
was amazing.
everything. And if we're gonna talk about Aldous Hodge's disrespectful triceps, there's man, oh man,
He's not in the movie.
the key. No, but
Oh.
she just like is so incredibly like gorgeous too. You
Oh
know,
yeah, she's
Lupita
beautiful, man.
Nyong'o.
Lupita Nyong'o, come
yes,
on,
so incredibly gorgeous.
dude. When she was
Um,
in like that Aztecian outfit, standing by the water, I was
bro,
like, Jesus.
bro, jeez,
But
Jesus.
Sanj, body of the year,
um,
bad gal.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, man.
Um, but she but then uh and then yeah, at the end we see that she has her son that she shares with T'Challa. But I agree with B. Going back to when we first talked about Chadwick Boseman's passing, I personally wanted the role recast because of all the T'Challa story that we still have left to tell and deal with.
Mhm.
And now like it's kind of a goofy way to like, oh, we can still have T'Challa stories,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It is a little cheesy.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know. But yeah,
All right,
It.
listen,
I mean, it's a workaround. I get it.
it's a workaround, exactly. It's a way to keep the stories alive there, man. But let's talk about now. These are the characters that I believe in. We'll each take one character so that way it doesn't we don't take too long on this podcast. But these are the characters that I would say were like Brandon called one of them the MacGuffin, which I'm sure he's assuming to Riri Williams, our Ironheart. But I'm gonna also put that into Valentina and also Everett Ross. I think the three of those characters, if you took them out of the movie, this movie would be no different.
Hmm.
There is
The
a better way to
Valentina,
explain why Namor is mad. Like they didn't need Riri. They could have just said the machine that was developed by anybody
the
pissed me
FBI,
off.
the CIA, the
Yeah.
government,
Yeah.
The fact that they
whatever. Yeah,
now have the ability to find our vibranium. Like that's it. That's it. I'm
that's
pissed off
it.
at the
Yeah,
world. They didn't need to they didn't need to associate it with somebody.
right. So,
He
real, go for
I
it. Simon.
agree.
What were you
I
about to
agree.
say?
I agree with you, Hop, because the only reason that the agent, what's his name, is there,
Everett
is to
Ross.
Agent Ross is to inform them of who the scientist is.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
really the
literally
only
it.
purpose
That's all he did.
that he
Yeah.
served. Like they could have had the same story, like you said, and Namor could have been, and Shuri could have been going after Namor or standing up to Namor because Namor was like, you know what, the Americans sent this, I'm gonna burn America to the ground, you know.
Right.
And that's what she could have been standing off against, and we could have introduced, her as the scientist later,
Mm-hmm.
or in a cut scene or something like that, you know.
Gotcha. Al, what was your thoughts on Valentina, Riri, and Everett there?
No, the same thing. Like I really felt like because I hate when they use one movie to introduce and set up another one, and you ate up a good portion of this movie because you forced this character in so that you can set up what is it, Iron Wars or
Ironheart,
whatever the
yeah.
show is coming.
Ironheart.
Yeah. So like B was saying, they could have just said because I never even understood it. That was one of the things I was going to try to look for when I rewatched the movie was how does he even know there's a scientist? Like, why wouldn't you just think of the machine? Like, all right, there's this machine that they have that can find us. Why would you think about let me get rid of the scientist? Like,
I'll
I
do
don't
you one
understand.
better, Al. How does Namor, who's in the ocean, know there's a woman who made, not a woman, but the character who made the machine?
Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
has
Like,
internets down there?
I don't get how it went from shit they found us to I want the scientist that made it. Like, what?
Hmm.
How do you make that reach? And then you force in Valentina to connect this to
The
again the
bigger picture.
MCU or
Yeah.
whatever they're going to do in the future. Um, and then to give her a reason to be in the story, you make her now the ex-wife of Everett Ross. Like there was so much stuff there that was forced
Hmm.
that I felt like yeah, I agree. You could have taken all of them out or majority of them out. Maybe leave Everett Ross as their liaison to find out what's going on. But you could have taken Riri out, and you could have taken Valentina out. You didn't need either of them in the movie.
And they
Yeah,
spent like
I
a
got you.
total like of an hour. Like if we take the whole movie, an hour was spent on the whole Riri Williams thing, and not any of it developed her character or made any sense. Like you have no
No.
idea why she built an Iron Man suit. Essentially, you have no idea what her association is with. Like they said it, like oh, like did you work for Stark Industries? And she's like no. Like like there was that was the only throwaway thing to say why she would be interested in the suit, and
Yeah.
then for her to develop her own suit later in Wakanda, like all of it was just so like forced into the story that was an hour alone. Like the whole pursuit in MIT, which was another
Mhm.
Easter egg for our Spider-Man peoples. No
I
Way
did think we
Home.
were gonna see what's his name, Ned.
I
I
thought we
thought
were
we were
going to
gonna
see
see Ned
Ned
somewhere.
because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
MIT, which is Tony Stark's college, but where these people also went. So it's like they did all this throwaway stuff, and they tried to like put in the story about her and her dad, and it just didn't
Mhm.
connect at all. And so like you said, she could have not have been in this movie and would have made no difference.
Gotcha. I mean, listen, the one cool aspect of having Riri Williams in the movie is that we got that awesome action scene of them stealing the car and going through the warehouse and going through Boston. Sanjay, any takes on them going through Boston?
Nostalgia.
There you
You
go,
know,
brother.
you know, the reality they actually went through more of Cambridge, which
Cambridge.
is across the bridge.
So Tease
Um,
wasn't in that scene. There was
say
no
again?
Tease. T's
Oh
wasn't
no,
there?
no, there was. I mean, the T goes to Cambridge as well, but
Mhm.
they were more in Cambridge than they
Mhm.
were in Boston. But definitely like the Mass Ave Bridge, MIT, and stuff like that, and whatever.
Right.
You know, I mean, we you know anyone that goes up to Boston for school and whatever hangs out. You hang out at MIT.
Yeah.
You don't hang out at that little school Harvard at all. You know, um, but but yeah, so definitely it was cool to see Boston in the backdrop there.
Absolutely,
So
man. So
correct me
let's
if
get to
I'm
the
wrong.
final. Yeah,
Oh,
go for it, man.
sorry.
No, go.
That whole car chase scene, right, was the government chasing them. And then at some point, they stopped. Like, did you notice the scene like where the big armored truck was chasing Okoye, right? And Okoye flipped the
Yeah,
one car over with the spear, and then all of a sudden the iron
yeah.
truck was just in front of her, and that was it. It just kind of stopped there, and then she
Mhm.
like
They
drove away.
they're like, you know what? She cut her car up with a spear. I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm like, you know what? I'm not fucking with it.
And
Yeah,
I was like, wait, why did it stop? And she
yeah.
just drove away.
Dude, and but those water grenades and the
Those were
Taliban people
sick.
coming off of the whales. Come on now,
Dude, when they came
good
off the
stuff, man.
whales, I was like, fuck.
And I was like, damn, y'all telecom people, y'all really brought a whale into the Charles River. Ugh,
Yeah.
poor whale. Ugh. And at
Oh
that
my
point of the
god.
Charles River, ugh, gross, gross.
Real quick before we get to the final scene, there is my. I want to see what you guys thought because I thought, and again, we're doing the comparison game of Aquaman versus Namor. Now, I liked the realness of Talocan. It wasn't this vibrant city in underwater. It was one location that had a sun, quote unquote, but it was really one place and then a bunch of different things where people were just swimming around. It wasn't like a magical city that was long and huge and it had lights everywhere and there was a drummer that was an octopus. It was. I think it was realistic for where it was under the water there.
Mhm.
Any takes on how Talocan looked?
I thought it was pretty.
I mean, compared to Atlantis, I thought it was a little shabby.
That's
Not gonna lie,
low budget Atlantis.
I thought it was rustic
Yeah.
compared to Atlantis, whereas Atlantis was more metropolitan as far as underwater cities
It's
go.
the
Yeah,
Denver of
but
underwater cities.
Denver. We love you, Denver. Oh my god! So listen, let's clean up the podcast now and finish it up with the last battle. Which, to me, someone's gonna have to explain to me why your master plan even was on the ocean for water people. But the master plan, Al, happened to be to dehydrate Namor,
To
which
warm
made
him up.
sense.
You gotta get that space heater on Namor.
They gonna fry some fish.
Put that shit on 10.
Motherfuckers put Dysons up in their fucking ship, dude. I have that shit downstairs, man. It looks just like
I can stop
it was
Namor.
turned orange. I was like, oh, this is Dyson. But
Yeah,
And it was almost like
Louis
they're
Andrade
like,
can
y'all
stop
don't know how to
Namor.
stop him. They're like, y'all know how to stop. Turn on the damn heat.
My father can stop Namor. He hoards all these space heaters.
don't talk about dad like that. So Al, talk to me, man. Your thoughts on the last battle? It was a big scene. Looks like the Wakandans had this huge ship that they took a lot of their people there to fight the
Yeah.
Talocan people. And for what did he say in the scene, Brandon? That he has more people than in Wakanda has blades of grass.
I have
Yeah.
I have enough. I have more soldiers than your land has blades of grass.
Then he brings 50 people with him to fight. Awesome.
But they kept
Al,
coming in waves.
they
No pun
did.
intended.
I got that, Waves. What'd you think, Al? That last battle, man, was pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, the grandness of it was good, because it's the final battle.
Mhm.
But I mean, and I know they were comic accurate, but the costumes that they had Okoye and
Oh, the
the other character
Midnight.
wear,
It was like the
What were they
I mean,
Midnight
it
called?
Angels.
looked,
Something like
yeah, it
that. I
looked
think. Yeah.
silly. I mean, it to me it
They're
took
like
away
Predator.
from, yeah, and and then they had the Iron Man mask just fade away and then come back, and I was like, that took it away from me. But
Gotcha.
I agree with you. Like, you're fighting sea people, and you go in a boat to the middle of the ocean. I didn't understand that. Like, I did not understand
To
that
turn on the
logic.
space heater.
Um, and not only that, the way she, like, as often as they said Wakanda Forever, that was the trigger word for the engines to fire off and heat them. What? Like,
Somebody would have said that by
Nah,
accident.
she pushed the button
yeah,
on her shoulder.
I thought she just did that. I didn't know she pushed the button.
The buttons for the thrusters are on her shoulder. So like she was,
Uh,
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
That's reach.
Sanj,
And
what you
then
think? Oh,
and then you're watching a Disney movie because the spirit that went through her as she pulled herself off. Not only did she survive, but there was not one drop of blood on the spear.
She was
yeah,
like,
it's still a PG-13 movie.
Then don't show a spear go through her. Come
Yeah,
on.
Yo, he twisted that shit too.
still
He's like,
Disney.
No, no. And she literally fried him. When she fried him, he's like on the floor. He's like, I yield. He's like,
better like
he's
I
like,
yield.
no, but it was like this big, like, fiery, inferno. And he's like, I see your point. I get it.
You know what? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but she also cut off a wing. Was he going to be able to fly?
I was waiting for the one to just do
Bro.
this on the
Whoa.
When
side.
she ripped off his wing,
With the freaking claws.
he's
What?
only going to be able to, like, twirl.
He's
Yeah.
running circles.
And you know what's funny? I kept thinking about this, man, is that when we saw the trailer, Brandon was like, "That's a lady booty," and I was like, "Nah, that's Killmonger in the freaking suit." No, Brandon was right. It was a lady booty.
It was a lady
So,
booty. The one thing though
uh,
that got me in the final battle was when, like, it was like down to the wire and all the
mhm,
Wakandans are getting pushed to the back, and
right.
I'm cracking up because they come around in the big ship and they're like, "We have an alliance," and everyone's like, "Yeah!" It's like 7 Wakandans, like.
Yo, I was about to say the Wakandans took so many losses because in that last scene there was like 7 of them left,
Dude, it
and
was
they
like
came
just
with like
all the
four.
main characters lived. like,
They came with
yeah.
like 4,000 Wakandans. They really did
Yeah,
on
They
that's
were
that ship.
crazy.
cheering and everything. Yeah. I was like, yo, you're all dead. Like all the seamen, they
Crazy.
all lived.
Oh man, you can't say that around Science Man. Oh man, there was semen all over the
All the little
boat, but
swimmers, they lived.
oh, this is great, man. So listen, we get the ending here where Namor and Shuri make peace, and they decide to, Shuri was battling the inner demons of hearing Killmonger, and shout out to Michael B. Jordan for showing up for the movie, man. I did want that, and I saw it. It was awesome. I was surprised because I really did think she was going to see the Queen, and when she walked around, she's Killmonger. I was like, oh shit. So again, she was battling the inner demons of wanting to fight back and to take that rage out on Namor. And then she hears and sees her mom in the vision of the ancestral plane there, which was awesome to talk to her, to show you who you are, show them who you are. And it was amazing, man. So I thought that was great. And like Sanjay said in the beginning, I think Namor's thinking ahead of the game was like, because I think he even said at the
He
end,
said at
because
the end to
I think
Namora.
one of his soldiers came up to Namora, said, she's like, you yielded, we why? And he's just like, think about it. They're gonna need us, bro. They're gonna need us.
Mhm.
So I mean, really good. And again, I think a good way to end Phase 4. And to be real with you guys, as much as Phase 4 is supposed to be the start of the multiverse and the multiverse saga, there for the next 3 phases here for Marvel, I really feel like Phase 4, when I think about all the movies, it has been dealing with loss. In Spider-Man No Way Home, we lost, Aunt May. In Thor: Love and Thunder, we lost, the mighty Thor, Jane Fonda. And I feel like in every one of these things, that's the thing that I'm seeing the most in all these episodes. And there's not a loss in a lot of these things,
Say
but
Jane
Stop it,
Fonda.
Brandon.
You said Jane
Stop it.
Fonda.
Stop it, Brandon. Stop it.
Gee,
Jane
gee.
Foster.
Jane
Come on.
Fonda.
Just let the guy live, Brandon. Jesus.
She's singing in the rain
We know what he
like.
meant.
I was so confident in that one. Kept it moving and everything. Jane Foster. Thank you, B. That's my brother, y'all. But so it's like I feel like that's what this whole thing was about. And if that's what it is, that's it. But I'm done with the losses though, man, because it's been a lot, man. And even freaking Moon Knight, we saw the loss of Moon Knight's brother. It's just a couple of things there was like dealing with death. And I wonder if that's the repercussion of the snap, is everybody's dealing with these stages of grief and death and all these things that are going on.
Well,
Phase 4 has been interesting.
what it could be that is they're giving us a story and getting us to understand that the players will change, right?
Hmm.
Contrast that to, let's say, DC, right? It's always Batman, Superman, and it's like for the story just keeps going on, and we keep recycling, and we got to get a
Hmm.
new actor because this one gets too old and whatnot. I think
Right.
they have that foresight to say we have so much material to work with, we're just gonna move forward,
Yeah.
and some of these characters will drop away, and the
Yeah.
idea is that someone will step up and take up their mantle in some way.
Yeah. How about you, man? Thoughts on Phase 4 ending with Wakanda Forever?
Um, I'm still looking for that thread,
Yeah.
because every movie had some kind of some kind of a deity or god or some kind of belief system that they were focusing on.
Right.
And I mean, granted, there was a major issue you had to deal with in terms of
Hmm.
the loss of your main actor, but they steered completely away from that. You
Hmm.
know, you know. So to wrap up a phase and you don't resolve any of the themes
Lot
that
of
the other,
loose ends.
yeah,
Lot of
there
loose
was.
ends.
So it almost made it feel like, kind of like I think you said in one of the earlier podcasts, they were just introducing us to shit in this phase,
Hmm.
and then the rest of the phases are going to take care of now how does that all play together throughout these multiverses.
Hmm.
But other than that, I really don't see any kind of what did this wrap up,
Right. I hear you,
you
B. Your
know?
thoughts on Wakanda Forever there ending Phase 4?
Like you said, I feel like I feel like we're rehashing phases 1 through 3. And like phase 1 was the introduction of characters. Phase 2 was like, let's start a conflict, but more for these characters individually. And then phase 3, the conflict is ahead. There's the major threat where we tackle it. So phase 4 feels like we may have a continuation of a story for many of these people, but it's mostly an introduction of characters and maybe potential plots and threats. So my assumption now is phase 5 is going to go all in on the multiverse, maybe even the Kang thing, with phase 6 being like attacking the issue at the head.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, I mean the next movie we got is Ant-Man in I think it's Quantumania.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasps. Quantumania. There's the next one, which is I believe it's February. So we're looking forward to that. But listen, we're gonna end the podcast here because we've gone for a long time talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Again, a great movie. All four of us pretty much said you guys should go see it. It's amazing. It's a great, touching movie. And again, it's a nice send off for the Black Panther and T'Challa's character there too. So listen, coming out of Long Island, New York, we are the Real Fan Review. Next week, we're gonna see what movies come out, or if we decide to just maybe wrap up Phase 4 in total and think about Phase 5 going forward. So next week's episode should be probably about going by what's going to happen with Phase 5, the movies that are in there, what we're hoping to see, and that thing. Unless we see some kind of movie that's coming out. But we are the Real Fan Review. Saying goodnight is our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
My boy, your boy, Sanj.
Good night, everybody, and it was a pleasure to be with you tonight.
My brother B.
Adios, everybody.
Yes, and myself, Hav, again saying thank you guys. Please hit the subscribe button, hit that plus symbol on your podcast play app. Watch us on YouTube and just see what we think about these movies, these characters, these MCUs, DCEUs, and all that stuff. We're going to talk about it and have fun with it at the same time. So we'll catch you on the next podcast. Until next time.